Biggest game of the season for both these clubs when they play each other, particularly for the supporters, and it's another big one today. A lot of scrutiny's been on United, I suppose, the last month or two, and how poor they've been. They've obviously picked up a little bit, particularly at home. Still use question marks away from home. You know, can they grind some results out? But all of a sudden now we're looking at Liverpool a little bit differently. Start of the season they were getting results without being at their very best, but now after a difficult week, losing 3 games, people are now looking at Liverpool and going, you know, looking at their signings and the manager, and a bit of pressure on Liverpool all of a sudden, particularly with obviously City back in the mix, and of course Arsenal continued to win. So yeah, it's a big pressure game.
Winning the games without necessarily the consistency of performance, Jamie, was seen as a bonus for Liverpool because the expectation was that performances would improve. It doesn't look as though that's happened. Well, what do you think is going wrong? Is it lots of small things? Is it one big standout point?
I think lots of small things, Kelly. But if you look at it, if they get a win today, they go a point within Arsenal. So it's still not the end of the world. Things aren't quite clicking. The new players that have come in, you know, Carragher at left back hasn't quite hit the ground running. Wirtz hasn't got the assists or the goals. Will it happen? Yes, I'm pretty sure about that. Isak's just going to need a little bit of time. Ekatike's obviously done well. So it's different to last year. For Arne Slot, he just had the team. It pretty didn't have to need a lot of change and just used to let it almost play. And they were fantastic. You could see how much they wanted to win the title, and they obviously delivered it. This year, there's a bit more pressure because they've spent some big money on players. I feel it will need a bit more time, but they're not at their level they should be right now. But this game can change everything. This is the one that can define your season to a certain extent. You win against Manchester United, the feeling after that gives you're in the ascendancy. If you lose, that mini crisis becomes a crisis. And it's the same for Man United. All of a sudden, they win back-to-back games, how things turned around. So for both teams today, this is just a huge game.
It is a huge game for all those reasons that you've outlined. The question for Liverpool is, how do they fix the problems that everybody can see, Jamie?
I think the big problem is defensively, conceding goals. That was a complete contrast to what we saw certainly last season. And the interesting thing this season is that you almost felt like at times you're watching a Jurgen Klopp type of team, whereas last season Arne Slot came in, didn't buy anyone, you know, same group of players as Jurgen Klopp had, but he added something to it in terms of Gravenberch and Luis Diaz's position, but also the whole team seemed to have a little bit more control. It wasn't sort of end-to-end, as we'd seen at times under Jurgen Klopp. And that's come back this season. And when you listen to the manager speak, he says even though Liverpool won the league last season, a lot of games were just by the odd goal. So it's almost he's gone into the transfer market and it's like, we need better attacking players, basically. And, you know, a genuine number 10, bring Isak in as well, Ekatike. And this idea that Liverpool will score a lot more goals and maybe win games earlier, maybe in 60, 70 minutes rather than going right to the wire. And that just hasn't happened at all. And what he's got now, he's got a lot of options, and that's created a lot of problems for him. And it's just going to be really interesting what team he picks today and how he eventually gets to what he sees as his best team going forward.
But with all them question marks, though, it also is a great game for Liverpool. You want to play Man United today. When you've had a bad week, you've had an international break, people are starting to doubt you. You want to play Man United at home. That's to get things back on track.
But it's also the case that, you know, last season it was, well, the manager's changed, but the players have all stayed the same. And other than Chiesa coming in, this might be difficult for Liverpool because they've not freshened up their squad. This time around, it's, well, they've brought loads of new players in, they've spent a lot of money, maybe they've freshened it up too much. It's neither
yeah, that can be a problem
for
manager. You can have too many options. And also, they're the champions. Different pressure when you're the champions. We saw Liverpool when they won it 4 or 5 years ago. The following year, I think they ended up being 30 points off. I know they had injuries. So the expectation of Liverpool this year, last summer, there was no expectation. No one would have believed for 1 second Liverpool were going to win the league last year, even particularly after their first half at Ipswich, you're thinking, my God, they look average. But listen, they got it going and were fantastic. When you're champions, it's a different test for you. It's a different how you deal with that pressure. That's what we're talking about, pressure on Liverpool today. But again, we go back to what I've said it many times before. The reason you're playing for these big clubs is you can handle the pressure. And they've had a bad week. And all of a sudden, but just say United came and got a result today, then you're looking, going, oh, the wheels have come off at Liverpool. But if they get back on track today, then you're thinking, fine. But I think it's a great game for Liverpool. If Liverpool are home to a lesser team today, or a lesser rival, the fans might turn up and it might be quiet and they'll be, oh, come on, we'll get back to it. But today there'll be a bit of nervous tension there. But that's a good test for the Liverpool players, and we'll see how they can react to the pressure and the expectation that you get when you're champions.
And in terms of just improving those performances, Jamie, it's not just about the players who've come in, it's about the players who've left as well, particularly the players up front who, for different reasons, are not available to Liverpool this season. That's where there's been a lot of change. But But also, people are now starting to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold, who, you know, for a couple of seasons was seen as his defensive capabilities were maybe a problem for Liverpool. Now they're looking at what they miss in attack and creativity without him in the side.
Yeah, but that goes without saying, Kelly. He's such a talent. When you look at the top of the assist league, it's always him, the likes of David Beckham, just incredible. It's what he brought to the team. But he isn't here anymore, so you have to now adjust. And the right-backs that have come in, Connor hasn't really hit the ground running yet. Frimpong, I can't quite figure out. He played the back three predominantly in Germany, and he feels like he looks lost at right back. But is he maybe an option as a forward player? Hasn't quite happened. And this side, Soboslai, that probably feels the best fit. But if you asked him, does he want to play right back? I'm sure the answer would be no. I want to play as a number 10, number 8. That's his position. So right now, it's just trying to find the right balance in the team. But they will get there. We're still 7. This is their 8th game this season in the Premier League. So they're going to find their way. We're so quick to judge. But they do need to pick up some performances soon. But like Roy says, this is a really good game for them today. And this is one where it can all change around, and then we can start talking about the positives about a lot of these players. It's
also a game that Mohamed Salah has really enjoyed in the past and enjoyed some real success in the past. Is he one of the players who's missing out the most because of the absence of Trent Alexander-Arnold, or is he being asked to do something slightly differently this season under Slot?
I don't think he's been asked to do anything differently. He will be missing, you know, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Who wouldn't? I mean, that partnership wasn't just last season. That was built up over 5 or 6 seasons. Liverpool have used 4 right-backs this season at different times as well, so that doesn't help. You go back to actually the Carabao Cup final when Salah had a really poor game against Newcastle. I think it was young Kwanzaa, Jarell Kwanzaa, who's playing right-back. That game. So it just shows that no matter how big an individual is or how great the player is, they need help from the teammates. There's no doubt about that. But I think right now as well, Salah needs to do more in terms of output. There's no doubt about that. The one slight worry I have with Salah is we've seen this before, where he goes 5 or 6 games, doesn't look at his best, and he'll only score a couple of goals. Fingers crossed that happens today. But normally that's towards the end of the season. He normally comes flying out the blocks, especially when he's had like the summer off. And I was expecting that this season, especially on the back of Liverpool signing Isaac and Wirtz and all them getting all the headlines and Liverpool spending money. Knowing his mentality from being at the club so long, at being like, I'll show you, I'm still the main manager. And it hasn't quite happened. And there will become a time over the next 2 years, and I hope we're not here right now, where Salah's not the same player, because that's we know, we've all been
biology.
Yes, that will happen. So I'm really intrigued over the next few weeks before he gets to the African Cup of Nations. Is Mo Salah not the same player, or is this a tactical setup with the team and different players and trying to bed players in to try and get more out of them? Because sooner or later, if that is the case, the team can't be built around Mo Salah. It would have to be built around Florian Wirtz or Isaac, just because of their age profile.
But also, this is where the...
Roy Keane, Jamie Carragher, and Jamie Redknapp didn't hold back as they dissected Liverpool's recent dip in form, pointing the spotlight directly at Mohamed Salah. While acknowledging his brilliance over the years, the pundits agreed that the Egyptian talisman hasn't been performing at his usual elite level. Keane argued that Salah needs to do more in big moments, insisting that Liverpool rely heavily on him to set the tone in attack. Carragher added that the team looks flat and predictable, missing the spark and intensity that once defined Klopp's side. Redknapp, meanwhile, questioned the hunger and urgency across the squad, suggesting that some players have grown too comfortable. He emphasized that Liverpool's problems run deeper than one player, but insisted that leaders like Salah must drive the team forward when things get tough. With mounting pressure and rivals closing in, the panel agreed that Liverpool must rediscover their rhythm quickly, or risk falling behind in the title race once again.